Hi, everybody. It's Nick Palizzi from The Sacred Science, and I am here today with one of my best friends in the world, Dr. Pedram Shojai. He is a Qi Gong master. He's a Daoist priest. He is a New York Times best-selling author of The Urban Monk and founder of well.org. How you doing, Pedram?
Great to see you, Nick. Fantastic.
This is going to
Thank
be
you.
amazing. So we've been talking about a secret new technique that you've been experimenting with Qi Gong and having a lot of breakthroughs with. I would love to dive into it, and we could talk about it a little bit and maybe give a little background on what Qi Gong is, and then let's just take these guys on a ride.
Sure. Yeah, I'm as you know, and our audience, I've been deep in writing a book for the last month and a half. The working title keeps changing because it was originally called The Life Garden, and then they wanted Time Mastery, but it's about all of it. It's just this weird thing where when you unlock the stuck energy in your life, time, energy, money, these are all a continuum, right? We change those for each other all the time. And we are stuck in one of those places. And when you get unstuck, all of a sudden there's flow, right? And so this book has taken me on journeys, man. I woke up at 2 a.m. and started writing again. And I do that. I say, listen, when you go to sleep tonight, I tell my dream state, my subconscious is like, look, take a download while I sleep and get up in the morning and write. Sometimes it's at 6 after, a good night's sleep. Sometimes it's at 2 a.m. I'm just in it. And so it's been a fascinating process. I haven't written a book in a couple of years. I missed it. I wanted to get back into it. And now that I'm here, I'm just, there's just a lot of layering, right? I was a monk for years. I traveled and did all the things that I did to learn what I know. But I started in my late teens, early 20s. You just need a certain amount of life experience on top of some of these life lessons, compounded with the wisdom. And then all of a sudden it starts cooking inside of you and you go, oh my goodness, that's what that meant, right? It's just layers.
You guys, everyone watching, I think you probably know this already, but Pedram Shojai, he walks the talk. He just does. I have a few friends that I can go deep with when it comes to spiritual stuff and existential stuff and things of the cosmos. And a lot of times when Pedram and I are hanging out, it'll be in an environment more about community building, tribe building, our respective communities trying to help each other grow. But it always goes back to these harder questions, the things that are so simple that they're deceivingly complex. And this guy can go there. His rivers run deep. And I just can't say enough about what you brought to the world. And when you say that you're going deep with this book, I can completely understand what that must be like for you. Because for you, it's almost like a channeling. You're someone you're getting out of the way and letting something else that's not you come through, from pen to paper. How does that process work? I mean, how does it feel when you're doing it?
It depends on the day, man. Like, I got young kids. I'm making, I don't know how many movies right now. There's so many things that I'm involved in and trying to make the world a better place. And the best metaphor I could think of is sailing, right? Like when you want to go sailing, first you're trying to pull out a harbor. You're trying not to hit rocks. You're trying to figure out, what's this book going to be? And you're in your head and you're in structure and outline and all this. And, you start laying the foundation for where this book is going. And then you pull out of the harbor and you catch a wind, and in the middle chapters, just the words are flying out of you. You're just clipping. You're not worried about anything. You're out in the open sea. And the last couple of weeks, it's been like, pulling into port. There's the harbor, right? And all of a sudden, you're worried about slowing down and navigating a lot tighter, and worried about hitting rocks. And so, just bringing it all together and synthesizing in a way that is applicable, right? Like I don't need to write Zen koans, right? That's not helpful for most of our readers. Most of our readers are householders, right? I studied an ascetic tradition, which is, I don't touch the world. I don't touch money. I sit here and do Qigong and figure it out, right? Monks have that luxury. That's less than 1% of the population, and then when I transitioned and became a householder, I got bills, I got payroll, I got, things. And as a householder, the rules are different. And so, if you have all these bullets flying at you and you're annoyed that you can't pull over and do yoga for 90 minutes today, that's That's not a reasonable ask of someone who's got a lot going on, right? And so how do you take this, whatever it is, and translate it into a life that needs it in a way that people can use it? I mean, that's the art of writing. And I've cracked the code in certain places, and other things it's like, wow, okay, where do you pull this down from, and how do you help this person's life in front of you without giving them all the excuses? My thing is, I'm kind of a tough love guy, which is, you can't run for the hills anymore. You have to stand in the life that you're standing in right now and make it work and make it better, and then be a bastion of stability and light in your community. There's no hills to run to, right? I mean, in the high Himalayas right now, there's arsenic coming down in the rain. So, you want to fix the world, you stand and you fix the world. You don't run from it. You can't go to Mars quite yet. So what do we do to wake up? What do we do to become the kings and queens of our lives and have agency to really bring stillness around us so that our lives work? And, a lot of this is like, getting the life that you want conversation. Every little boy I've met growing up wanted, oh, well, what are you going to do when you grow up? I'm going to be rich. I'm going to have a mansion. I'm going to have a Ferrari. It's all this like material crap that you think is associated with happiness and success. Those are all just memes, man. That's all just mental viruses that are poisoning you into thinking that those things are going to bring happiness. Those things are going to bring this. And so when we start to deconstruct all that and actually think about what we truly want in life and what piece we have to come from to get the life that we truly want, it requires this thing in my tradition, we call it retroflexion, is you turn the light of your awareness around and you look inward. And the more you do so, the more you realize how silly it all is, all these things that we think are going to complete us. And you start you sever the cords to all these trances, and you're free, right? And you're free in a way that society can't even talk about, because society is so stuck in the mundane. And the one thing that really came solidly across to me in all of this is, I don't think anybody listening to this, anybody in the world we live in right now, stands a chance in the world we live in without a meditation practice. And I say this very seriously, because that's a pretty gestalt statement, right? There are so many influences driving us to act in ways and behave in ways and fear in ways that pull us out of the nexus of control, knock us off our perch. And if you don't bring energy and blood up to your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for your negation of impulses, you say no to the cheesecake, you say no to the guys that are going out for a drink. If the guys are going out for a drink tonight and you haven't seen them in a long time, it's easy to say yes. But by saying yes right there, you just said no to the workout. You said no to the family dinner. You said no to your sleep. You said no to like 6 things that you had committed to for the life that you said you wanted, but you weren't aware and present enough in that moment to just be like, oh, sorry guys, that sounds great. I'd love to hang out with you when I can. Tonight I got stuff going on, right? You say yes, and then you're just tumbling and stumbling through life. That's all a function of the prefrontal cortex. That's all a function of this third eye that gives us the agency to make decisions for ourselves. And I think that the world we live in, with the foods and the toxins and the blue light and the this and the Instagram and all that stuff that's hitting us, there's no way to stand a chance without some form of mental hygiene, some form of mental flossing, right? And whether it's meditation, yoga, mind-body practice, I don't care what you do, but you got to do something.
I think that we live in a world and a period of time where people have forgotten that they have some control over what thoughts come through. I say that because I am a pretty typical New England, Connecticut, white American male, and that's how I grew up. You didn't have control over these things. These are just things that just happen, and you react to them the way you react to them. Maybe, you have a glass of whiskey at night to try to calm them down. Take a sleeping pill if you can't go to sleep. Drink a ton of coffee in the morning if you're so tired because you couldn't sleep because of all the thoughts that you can't function. We've forgotten that we have some agency over these things, and only through, like you said, a meditation practice or a yoga practice, movement meditation, which is like something that we'll get into in a little bit here, like Qi Gong, can you start seeing for yourself, oh, you know something? Yes, when I started, the first couple times it was really hard because I had a whirlwind of negativity and a whirlwind of echoes of everything I witnessed throughout the day, echoing in my brain and telling me I'm not good enough, telling me everything is too scary out there for me to take a chance. And then you start magically seeing these things turn off, and you start feeling, it's like anything. It's like your muscle, like, you know, it's like back muscles. Most people don't have great back muscles because they don't do many back exercises. Then you start realizing when you start doing them, oh my God, there's muscles back there I forgot about. That's how it is with meditation. You're like, oh, there's muscles in here, and there's levers that I haven't even tried to start using yet. And when you start using them, they start A, strengthening, and B, more of them appear. So when you talk, it's exactly where my heart and my soul lies, as you know. And
at the end of the day, you got to do the work, man. You got to do the work. And like, you know, those back muscles aren't getting worked out for you. And that's, I think, one of the biggest issues we have in this kind of personal development, self-help world is, oh, you know, I got this app that, you know, gets you enlightened. That's all nonsense, man. Like, to me, that's all idolatry. Like, if you're using a tool, if you're confusing the map for the terrain, you're in trouble, because doing the work is what activates those things. Doing the work is what strengthens that muscle. Doing the work is what gets you to wake up. And we live in a culture where everyone's trying to sell sugar cereal to children, right? It's like, oh, no, you don't need to do all that. Just, you know, here's my little like quickie technique thingy, man. Just, you know, just here. It's nonsense. It's nonsense. You know, I come from a tradition called Kung Fu, translated as hard work. Right? The more you train your Kung Fu, the better you get at things. Like, I'm not worried if the guy's throwing a jab or a cross or a kick. I'm just ready. Right? And so when you're in that state, your Kung Fu is good. Life is Kung Fu, right? Life is hard work. It's like people are so worried about problems coming at them. It's like, look, problems are not going to stop coming at you in life. There's going to be a storm. There's going to be a car accident. There's going to be whatever. So the question is, how long is your fuse, right? How resilient are you? How resourceful are you? That's what these mind-body practices build, right? And if you don't do that, then you're reaching for the Xanax, you're reaching for the aspirin, you're reaching for all these things to try to compensate for having gotten knocked off your perch. The question really becomes, how are you preparing yourself for any eventuality? And look, stuff happens, people fall, I get it, right? But a meditation practice sets you up for that. A mind-body practice sets you up for that. There's actually really good evidence that's come out right now showing that mind-body practices like Qi Gong, they activate and work with the suppression, the gene expression of this thing called NF-kappa B, which will then lead to prostaglandin synthesis. So what does that translate to? Prostaglandin synthesis is basically all of the inflammatory cascades in your body are modulated by this gene expression. And by doing this kind of work, I can bring inflammation down systemically across all lines, from my brain, from my gut, from my joints, all of it, by doing a mind-body practice. It is the fountain of youth, yet because you can't patent that and put it in a pill or sell it in any sort of billion-dollar acquisition, whatever, they're like, oh, okay, that's interesting, right? And so I've had all these studies sent to me over the years. I'm like, what? Are you kidding me? That is like the answer to everything in medicine. And no one's talking about it because everyone's like, nah, no one's going to do the work. Let's make them a pill, right? Multi-billion-dollar industry with pills causing side effects and, you know, dry mouth and gut dysbiosis and all the crap that we're dealing with, because somehow we've been convinced that doing the work is too hard, yet it makes our lives impossibly hard because our orientation is flipped. We're looking for someone outside of us to fix us. That's not the way, right? The way is to wake up and become a master of your own life. The way is to activate your own consciousness and become enlightened in this existence right now. It's not some far off fantasy. Sit on a cushion, meditate. It's right there in front of you, right? And that's the distortion of our culture that's drowning us out. And I mean, just read the news, right? We're a bunch of lunatics, apes hitting each other in the head with you know, sticks right now. And everything's getting so polarized that society is starting to rumble. come back to your cushion, come back to your self-awareness, right? And that to me has really been like, just writing this book has been phenomenal for me, because, you read all the stuff and you're like, oh, the world's going to hell. The world's going to hell because the individuals in the world have lost their center. So you can't go fix the world until you fix yourself. Come back to your center. Come back to your center.
It all starts with you. Hyperlocality. There's no way to change things out there if your family is screwed. There's no way to change the world out there if your neighborhood isn't functioning. It all starts with you and doing what you got to do. And it'll be a butterfly effect kind of thing. So we've gone into some backstory. Can we talk a little bit about what Qi Gong is, and then can we dive into this practice?
Sure. Given the format of where we're at, we're not going to do a moving practice, but I just, something came to me the other night that I'll share with you all. And I haven't even shared, this is in the book. I haven't even shared this with like my audience yet. Like this is super fresh and I can't wait to play with this. But the literal translation, Qigong, is energy work, right? And the fundamentals of energy work are the coordination of eyes, mind, body, and breath. So if I'm doing a physical Qigong, I'm watching my hands as I'm breathing in and out. I'm compressing here to be in frame, right? But I'm watching my hands as I'm in this smooth transition of the flow of yin and yang as it translates through my body. And I integrate my sensory motor strip. I integrate my hemispheres of left, right, up and down. And I bring all my senses to the present moment. And every time my eyes wander off and go, ooh, what's that? That's fine. That's the nature of the human mind. Just come back to what you're doing. And the more you do that, the more your body and this space that you occupy becomes the workshop for your consciousness and awareness, the more that awareness starts to ignite like a sun. And the more self-aware you become and the more integrated you become. I've seen thousands of patients while I was still practicing. And, I've had a long kind of healthcare career. And I'll tell you, I'd see someone whose life is just falling apart. And so it's like, yeah, today it's the diet, tomorrow it's the alcohol, it's their frame of reference is just a hungry ghost, right? And the people who have gotten the recommendation of mind-body practice, and now I'm at the point where I'm like, everyone should just do this stuff, right? You don't have to do my stuff. You don't have to get a yin-yang tattoo. Just do some mind-body practice. It doesn't matter. Just do the work. The people that took that advice and heeded it, those are the ones whose lives transformed, whether it be diabetes or, migraines, or I don't care what the diagnosis is, right? Come home. And then your frame of reference changes. First of all, your blood is flowing, your qi is flowing, and things start working out in ways that are seemingly magical. But we kind of already understand this, right? The nervous system, if you want to break up the human nervous system, we have our sympathetic and we have our parasympathetic, right? Just binary systems. You're either in one or another, right? You're supposed to be in your sympathetic nervous system 1 to maximum 3% of the time, period. That's when the lion's chasing you. That's when you're at war. That's when the car accident is happening. Everything ramps up to say, get me in or out of this situation. It's fight or flight. It's hitting the fan, right? Elevated heart rate, blood withdraws from the gut and from the front of the brain, right? The part that we're talking about, to the amygdala, which is like, get me the hell out of here. How do I make an impulsive decision to save my life? 1 to 3%. Versus the rest of the time, parasympathetic nervous system, rest and digest, watering the fields. I'm talking about, bridges, roads, school books, arts, things that make society civil, feeding the people, feeding the land, right? Versus wartime economy. We live in wartime economy much more often now in our culture than peacetime economy. So if I can't be in that rest and digest place, my NF-kappa B is cranking, I've got cytokine synthesis, I'm inflamed, and I don't have my immune system working the right way. I'm attacking myself. I'm exhausted all the time. My adrenals are cranking. Do you know that guy? He's everywhere, right? And that's the problem, is when we understand how to modulate that ourselves and we go back to rest and digest, it's not like, oh, okay, great, that's it, I'm healed, right? I meditated once, that felt great. No, every day, every moment, come back to that. And then what you do is you fire the neurons in that direction. You train your nervous system To live in rest and digest, it doesn't mean you're a blob sitting there on a cushion. It means that you're calm and collected and you can handle your life better. It means you'll make better decisions. You say no to the cheesecake. You say no to the, whatever it is. The world's coming at us constantly, driving us to make bad decisions. And so when you're doing a Qi Gong practice and a meditation practice, you're lighting up this part of the brain, you're calming down the nervous system, going back to parasympathetic, rest and digest. You're bringing down all those inflammatory signals at the highest level of gene expression, and you're able to make better decisions for your life, whether that's food, whether that's, oh, I just got home, I'm going to have a glass of wine versus go for a quick run. Very simple binary decisions. One of those is going to work way better for you in the long run. Every moment of every day, we're faced with those. And if we're not sitting here on our perch, we can't make the right decisions. And then we get the lives that we see.
Thank you for the download, man.
Sorry. I'm writing a book, man. I got all this stuff flowing through my head right now.
No, it's incredible. You said the realm of hungry ghosts, or maybe you said hungry ghosts, but it reminds me of the Gabor Mate. People, he works with heroin addicts in Vancouver, and everyone's like, oh, okay, so that's not applicable to me. Well, the reality is, it's a metaphor. Like he's using them as a symbol for who we are as humans right now. We are constantly trying to satiate, numb out all these things that are going on inside of us instead of, like you said, coming home, which is such an incredible idea. Most of us are not home. Most of us are somewhere else. We think that if we can overthink enough, then we can get past all the problems that we're experiencing. Listen, I do the same thing sometimes. I'm sure you do too. Like, no one is perfect at this. There is something going on with whether it's something with our ego or something with just with the brain itself, where right now I think most people think that if they overthink things, or if they're not overthinking, then the lion's going to get them. They have a duty to themselves to overthink. And when you say come back home, come into your body and start paying attention to what's going on inside, forget about what's outside for a little while. Like, for some people, they might say to themselves, well, that's great, but I'm a single mom of 3 living in South Chicago. And if I let my guard down for a second, this whole thing could evaporate. My life could go down the tubes.
That's exactly how the sympathetic nervous system works. The lion's still chasing me. And so when you're in that place, and if that's how you are in such fight or flight that it doesn't even make sense. If you can't pop in the clutch and go to the other side to feel at ease for a moment, every decision that mom is making is impulsive, and it's still driving her towards a life that's more chaotic. And so look, we all think that because we're so complex that we need a complicated solution set to our complicated problems. What if the solution for complexity was actually simplicity? We're all looking for like the missing blog or podcast or book or magic koan or something to fix us from the outside. And what if we just chilled the F out and all of a sudden the answers started coming to us? What if we calm down?
You know what this is very reminiscent of? I just noticed because I have a couple of friends, including my wife, who's doing it now. Improv. When you're in an improv class, everyone, by the way, should do improv.
Yes.
Everybody, regardless of what your career is, what your aspirations are, everybody, and people who have done it will say the same exact thing. Everyone needs to do this, because in order to do improv well, it's kind of like your kung fu reference. In order to do improv well, you cannot have any premeditated ideas of what you're going to do. The second you've premeditated, you can't do anything up there. And the people who just keep themselves a hollow bone, they go up there and they're like, I'm going to let this situation, I'm going to trust myself to take whatever's given to me here and turn it into something interesting, because my consciousness is a lot more, my subconscious is a lot more interesting than my intellect. So it's basically like, trust the universe. Things are going to come your way. Don't overthink. Don't plan.
Relax and empty yourself, and it's going to be hilarious.
Genius emerges. Like, people who are extremely good, the funniest people that you know, the Will Ferrells of the world, they're not thinking about it.
No.
They're not. They know that there's a magic in the moment that they can tap into, and the minute they start thinking too hard, it goes away. They're not funny anymore. So it's an interesting. I
love that analogy, because it'll apply to everything, right? It'll apply to, you know, if you're a defensive tackle out there and you're wondering where the guy's going to throw the ball, just sit there and observe and play defense, right? It applies to sports. It applies to our business. It applies to everything in life. And I think improv's a really good way of seeing it, because you're up on a stage, man. It's, you know, either you're funny or you're not. And funny is a weird, arbitrary thing.
So good. Yo, we're running out of time. We got to get into this practice. We got to do this.
All right.
This is what you and I do. By the way, everyone, if you ever catch Pedram and I hanging out somewhere, this is kind of what it's going to look like. Just a lot of back and forth. And then we forget where we are. We forget about time. And
somehow things get done. Like we make films, but yeah, there's a lot of popping in the clutch, right? And that's where the juicy stuff in life happens. Okay. So, all right, let's close our eyes. This is really fresh material, and it's more of it's less technique than understanding of the force. Okay. So put your tongue to the roof of your mouth, which is also a trigger for parasympathetic nervous system. And let's start doing some lower abdominal breathing, just about 3 fingers below your navel. Slowly breathing in and out of your lower abdomen. Again, another switch to go from fight or flight to rest and digest is just this kind of low abdominal breathing with the tongue touching the roof of the mouth. Plenty of details and understanding on it right now. Let's just do it. And keep breathing like that, and I'll talk us through this concept. You know, in the book that I'm finishing, you know, we talk about where energy comes from and how, you know, we take these little packets of sunlight that are trapped in plants who have learned to photosynthesize and consume that, and that becomes the energy that runs our bodies. And it's kind of like a power plant. You know, you burn stuff and you make energy. That's nice. It's very 1.0. But what if we were able to scan our bodies right now with our eyes closed? Just find the places where you feel a little stuck. And there's just a little backup of the flow. Say it's your shoulder or your back. Just keep breathing down your abdomen and just scan from head to toe, up and down your body. If you're older than 3 years old, you probably already got places you're stuck because of the way we move, the way we function in the world we live in. Now feel that place where you kind of feel the energy just a little heavier. Almost as if you put a little like water mill. Just psychologically put a little water mill in there and just feel like that's where the water in your body is stuck. And then have that stuckness start turning that water wheel and generating energy. Just out of nowhere. A place where the flow of your qi is stuck, suddenly becoming a place where you start to release and gain energy in your life. These little currents, these little rivers of energy. There's gamma rays, X-rays, cosmic rays. So much. This isn't even like woo-woo hippie stuff. There's just so many waves and particles bombarding us right now. What if you were able to take those energies and convert them into usable energy right here, right now, in your own body? Just play with that for a minute. In Qi Gong, we talk about the free flow of energy, the free flow of qi, being the ultimate state of enlightenment and energized body, energized movement. So we find these places in our body That energy is stuck as areas of opportunity. Talk about not having energy. Well, there it is, right? It's just stuck. It's not flowing. And the more we can flow, the more whole we feel. So just scan your body, find these places where it's stuck. You could do this with thoughts. You could do this with emotions. Just play with it. Early Qi Gong was literally just scanning your body and releasing where the energy wasn't working. And got into the microcosmic orbit. It got into all these movement principles, which I teach and I love. But if you understand the nature of the force and the flow of the universe, and you could feel it inside of you, you could ride that wave. And I'll tell you, I say this in Western Hermeticism, all the power that ever was or will be is here now. It's funny, we talk about stillness and meditation. When you still yourself, you can feel this enormous, eternal wave of energy that's surging through you at all times. We just forgot how to surf it. So find it, tap into it, allow it to release the parts in your body that are stuck and stagnant. Draw energy from it for your life, for your health, for your brain, your mental well-being. And then you could take that, it's almost like water. You take that water and water the areas of your life garden and see through all the things that you want created on this planet. Your dreams. What about your dreams? Everything you want to do in this world is a function of focus with energy to back it. If you could focus on something, it will pull energy through you to that something. And if your focus and your intent are there long enough, matter will assemble around it. And it will become a reality. Calm your mind, find where you're stuck. And unlock the energy. Just right now on a kind of superficial layer, just in your body. Unlock the energy that makes you feel stuck in your body. And you'll be able to do that with everything in your life. I mean, that's true Qigong. True Qigong is the movement of energy, and it starts with mind. Best way to get there is to obviously develop a physical Qigong practice and meditate. The more you learn about the nature of existence, the more you laugh at the world we're living in. It's a complete refractory subversion that's meant to distract you from the creative principles that come through this God self that you are. It's hilarious how distracted we've become. A bunch of divine creators waiting to be told what to do and what to think. When you free your mind, when you free your chi, when you free your energy, you'll start to understand it. And then there's no turning back. You become a force of nature. Let's just take a couple more breaths down to our lower abdomen. Lock in, settle in. This is my favorite stuff. We can come back, open your eyes slowly. Been doing films, writing books and all this, but the most valuable work I've been able to do is to keep teaching Qigong. And right now I've been doing it quarterly. Once a quarter, I'll do one level of one of my systems and teach it. Got one coming up in April. Trying to move mountains to get Nick out of production so he could be there. You know, I touch millions of lives through my films. I get like 100 or so people in a room and the thing ignites like a sun. It's about doing the work, right? And if you can do the work and you learn to do the work and learn to fish, no one can tell you what reality is about. No one can tell you the meaning of life. I don't even know if there is a meaning to life. It just keeps getting deeper and more interesting and more profound. But the questions are way, way more important than the answers, right? Just keep digging.
I just had a few visions as I was sitting there in that meditation of just everyone, masses of people outside doing Qigong together in the morning. I guess you see this in China. You see people who just do this, on the rooftops of office buildings. It seems like one of those things, like you said, we need to free our minds and remember how powerful we are. It's something that I think is essential right now more than probably any other time in our history. It's profound. It's funny because Pedram, like I said, is one of my best friends, and you forget sometimes, as you get close to people, you forget how truly incredible they are, because they just become, he and I talk every day, but everyone I know who's ever practiced with Pedram and gone to one of his Qigong weekends is like, oh, got it. Pedram is a master. Oh, he's more than just a funny, successful, extremely good writer, health and wellness expert. He is a master of something. He is an absolute master of something much deeper than that. I hear it all the time. So yeah, I'd love to talk a little more about this weekend you have coming up. And you guys, we'll put a link underneath this video so that if you want to find out more information, you can click it and get all those details.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I'm teaching level 1 of the Daoist Pi, which is the system that I'm an abbot in. Grandmaster Lu, before he passed, specifically requested of the abbots that we never film it. And I'm like, I'm an internet guy. I'm like, what are you talking about? And I get it. It's about direct transmission, and it's about being in a room and activating the light bodies of the people in the room. I don't want to, like, there's plenty of videos of people who've done it, normal people, right? Like, I'm not like I go out of my way to not be a weird guy. You know what I mean? I'm a very approachable person. My storefront is there to help millions of people. You should see all these normal people going into this thing going, oh my goodness, that transformed my life, right? My whole thing is, it's not about me. I've never, ever, ever want to be the guy. Here's the practice. Let me teach you how to fish. And when you learn this thing, not only is it your health, not only is it your energy, not only is it your mental clarity, just life starts to work out, right? When your energetic flow gets less clunky, all of a sudden there's money, there's opportunity, there's like new friends, there's love. It's just, magic is a word, right? It's just, there's something about it that activates your life. I mean, there's 31 exercises. You just learn how to do them, eyes, mind, body, and breath. And it brings you into a meditation. And at first you're like just trying to figure it out. And then all of a sudden you're like, what is that? And it feels like a homecoming. And I mean, just rooms full of people. I don't get a chance to travel very much. As Nick knows, I have a travel restriction because I really wanted to live on a ski mountain. So I cut a deal with my wife where I don't travel more than 7 nights a year. And that's worth it for me because I could ski out that door right there. And so 4 times a year, I got the Cliff Lodge up in Snowbird. It's beautiful, just majestic canyon. Looks like Switzerland, up here in like close to Park City, Utah. And, it's just come to the mountains. Let me teach you this thing. Take it home, bless your life with it. And the people who've done it are just, so there's 6, 7 levels in the system that I'm trained in, that I'm ordained in. You have to start at level 1. That's happening now. It only happens once a year. It's happening. When is it? April 24th through the 26th. We've negotiated really cheap room rates at this amazing resort, and you just show up, eat good food, and practice this thing. And everyone who's been there, man, these people become lifelong friends. I mean, it is just, there's some powerful things that happen there. And my claim to fame is, it's not all about like, ooh, there's Pedram. It's just like, you guys hang out. Let me show you how to do this, and you guys do it. Take it into your lives. I don't want it to be about me, because it's never about me. Anyone who makes it about themselves is a fool, right? The guru thing is dead. It's about you. Everyone who's watching this and listening to this, you need to wake up to your life. And when you do so, and when you activate the flow of your energy and you start to wake up to what's happening, there's no looking back, because you realize that you've been asleep. We're all just being lulled into sleep. The Buddhists call them hungry ghosts for a reason, is because we've been lulled into the delusion of scarcity. We've been lulled into the delusion of time not being eternal and us not being eternal. We've just fallen asleep to who we are. And when you wake up to that, no one can tell you anything else, right? You don't fall for the dogma. You don't fall for the crap, right? You get it. You're awake.
Brother, thank you for this. It's so nice to be recording a video and find myself, I lost track of time, and I'm like, oh, I'm meditating right now. Oh, yeah, Pedram's got me. He's got me in a trance state. Okay. So I think a lot of people watching probably just had a little experience just with what you showed them. You guys, I cannot recommend this enough. I know that it's hard for a lot of folks to make the time to do this. This is one of those things that you will never, ever regret doing if you can make it happen. Pedram, any final words before we say goodbye for today?
That's it. I mean, listen, if you make this or you don't make this, the work is your work, right? You have to do the work. You have to work every day to wake up. And then once you wake up, you have to work to stay awake. And it seems like work, but what's more work is your life right now. Everything else becomes easy. Everything else becomes effortless. Everything else becomes so pure once you wake up to from the delusion of who you thought you need to be and the things you thought you needed to be doing, to just living life. But it's like you're like a hot knife through butter, right? It's just, there's no words to describe the transformation that happens in all walks of life when you start getting out of your own way, right? And you stop the impedance. Gold is a pure conductor, right? And in alchemy, we talk about turning lead to gold. It's the lead of the human experience into the gold of awakening. It's not turning stuff to actual gold. Who cares about that, right? And so, yes, I invite you to join me in person to hang. If you can do it, you won't regret it. And if you can't do it, find some place to do the work and do that. Please, right? It is your birthright to wake up and become a sun, a star. Anything short of that is shortchanging yourself, and it's shortchanging who you're supposed to be on this planet.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Pedram Shojai.
Nick, always a pleasure.
As always
a pleasure.
Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you.